What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy. I'm Daniel Cormier. That's the bad guy, Chael, son of Chael P. What's up, man? You know what's crazy, Chael? I feel like every week when I have to go from Thursday to Monday, I'm starting to miss you, my guy. Especially when I'm not on the broadcast doing our Good Guy, Bad Guy 5-6 times every show. I miss you because I don't say your name at all. So, like, how are you getting through those weekends, Chael, without talking to your boy?
I appreciate that. For one, that was very nice. I miss you as well. You know what, man? I've been getting really immersed in college wrestling. Like this portal is changing things.
Dude.
Just college sports as a whole. I went to University of Oregon. We joined the Big Ten, and the University of Oregon, like most of the top schools, has a founder that writes the checks. Ours happens to be Phil Knight, who owns Nike, and Phil Knight has openly said, you have no limit. You have an open checkbook. He put himself in there. He started to fill his mortality. He said, I am not going to die without having a national championship. Go get these athletes. And I mean, it's a totally different game in college sports. Frankly, Daniel, I've been enjoying it.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. And football starts next week, so I'm all pumped up about that. I love watching football. World football returned last week, so I've been watching sports, but it's all good. And last weekend, we had a UFC fight. Caio Borralho finally jumped into the top 5, right? We saw this young man, and he seemed, since the Contender Series, Chael.
World football. What is world football? Are you talking about soccer?
Yes, I'm talking about soccer. But when you're a fan, you call it world football, right? Like, we have American football.
I appreciate that. But are you pretending to our audience for some unknown reason that you're a soccer fan?
No, I'm a massive soccer fan.
Oh, come on.
Chael, I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to watch the Premier League on Saturdays. It's crazy, on Peacock, every Saturday.
Really?
I fall in, playing that stupid video game has made me fall in love with soccer. I started playing the game, now I fall in love with the actual game, which is beautiful, by the way.
Okay,
it is beautiful.
And Daniel, the World Cup, I know that that's very coveted soccer, but is the Olympics as well? Like, is that a pinnacle?
No.
It's not really. No. It's not.
Who
won the Olympics this year?
The World Cup is the highest level, and that comes to the United States in 2026. So you and I will go to a game. You'll be hooked. But Chael, back on topic.
All right.
Caio Borralho, right? I talk about high level. I talk about world class. I talk about seeing someone elevate to the next level. Last weekend, Caio Borralho had his opportunity. He took on Jared Cannonier. He got the job done. It was a very close fight, up and down. He dropped Jared Cannonier late, and which ultimately secured the victory for him. But, Chael, we're not going to focus on that because that is not what we do. I will never put myself in the rarefied air that you live in terms of calling people out. But we did a decent job of it. He calls out Jared Cannonier initially, and then he almost starts to work his way through his call out to a championship opportunity. What did you make of that? What did you make of Borralho's job on the microphone? And we also have to get into the art of the call out, right? Because that's what you and I do.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And you know what? I mean, it's a very good sign. Like, there is an actual scientific litmus test. Like, are Chael and Daniel discussing it come Monday? And the answer is yes. He got something done there. I like the nerd gimmick, and not because I think that can get over. I just like the idea that he has the gimmick. Look, and by the way, beating Jared Cannonier is no easy task. If you can win one round against Jared, you're a pretty tough guy. If you can put Jared down, you're a really tough guy. If you can go 25 minutes and find a way to get your hand raised, I liked it. I mean, he's not in that position yet. There was even talk after the fact, our own Michael Chiesa threw out the name when he was trying to match him up, talking about Israel Adesanya. But I don't think that those are realistic. I think that he's still got to get a lot more work and get his name out there. But there are some big-name guys that aren't necessarily in a position of leverage. I'll tell you one, Paulo Costa. Yep. I think that would be a very interesting matchup, and I think he seems open to it.
Ooh, chill. That was I don't normally go, ooh. Like, when you said Paulo Costa, that made me kind of give that reaction because that's a great fight. But here's one thing about Borralho. After last weekend, he will find himself ranked in the top 5, 6, 7 now, coming down from 12. But when you get on the microphone and you start to plot the next fight, when you start to build your course towards trying to become a champion, you got to be very sure of what you want. Now, he was tied to Kevin Holland. That was a fight that was supposed to happen. And I don't know that he would not want to do that now, but I do believe it's too late. You cannot go back to that fight anymore. It has to be someone that is now ranked in the top 10, ranked in the top 5. Jared Cannonier fought for the belt. Jared Cannonier was in the #1 contenders fight very recently. Jared Cannonier is a guy that has lived at the top of the division. And right now, the top 5 is Strickland, Adesanya, Whitaker, Imavov, and Jared Cannonier. Just beat Cannonier. We know that Rob Whitaker's on the short list of people trying to find his way to a title fight, but he's also fighting Khamzat Chimaev. Then you got Sean Strickland, who is next. Israel Adesanya just lost for the championship. Why not Imavov? That seems like the right fight.
Sure.
Fight Imavov. Fight a guy in Nasruddin who's in the top 5, who also beat Jared Cannonier, right? He beat Jared in the fight prior to this. Put those two dudes together, and then we start to see who's next. Because I do agree with you. Borralho still has work to do, but how much work does he have to do?
Yeah, well, and Daniel, to your point, one thing about the call out and one reason it is so important isn't just to keep the conversation going. It's not just to have a hand in your own career. It's so that you don't get called out. If you're a main event guy, you're the one that people should be coming after. Like for Gerald Meerschaert, just for example, to call somebody out that was on the same card on a night that he looked good, like all of a sudden that starts to be a problem. If you're doing the counter punching, if you're deflecting, it's very hard to get what you want. So if you're closing out the night, which is what the main event does, and you have the final say, it's very important that you do say, or somebody's going to come for you and you're going to get pulled in that direction. And if you don't accept the call out, you look like you're backing down, which in this sport is a problem. So just to speak to your point and your idea about how did he do, he should have been a little bit stronger. I don't know that he is quite the guy that people are going to go after, so he might be protected, but the point is the same. And that's, so you have 2 goals there. 1, to get the fight that you want, but 2, to get people off of your tail, because he is going to climb the rankings and people are going to, he's going to become the hunted, not just the hunter.
But do you love the fact that he has a plan, right? Isn't it annoying how many have no plan? Chael, I swear, man, when I'm in that octagon, when I'm ready to interview somebody, Chael, and I go, hey, you look phenomenal. You have won 3 in a row. What do you want next? Chael, the most dreaded answer that I get, and I literally want to take the mic from him and go, you're so you're so stupid. I want to say, you're so stupid. Why would you do this? Chael, when they go, I love the UFC. It's a great organization. And whatever they decide, I want to do. Chael, I always want to grab the mic and go, you moron. Why would you not take the moment to take advantage of what you're doing here? I mean, you never have more eyes on you, Chael. You can go and do an interview, you can go talk to somebody, but you never have more people watching you than on that post-fight interview when people are tuning into the fights. Why do they say that? Does that drive you crazy?
Oh, it drives me. I don't understand it. And another way of wording it is a lot of times they'll say, I don't care. And what they're trying to say is, I'll fight anybody. What they're trying to say is, hey, there's nobody off limits. You tell me who it is. I'll show up and take care of business. But it's not what they did say. What they did say is, I don't care. And if you don't care about your next fight, it's impossible for me to.
Yes.
I can't possibly get into it and behind it. So it does surprise me. I would practice those things. Daniel, I would practice it both ways. What happens if I win? What happens if I stub my toe out here, right? I mean, it's going to go one of 2 ways. Like, it's not rocket science here. We don't have to get the big whiteboard of NASA out and come up with all the different possible equations. You're going to win or you're not going to win. Still, the most important part isn't how I do tonight. It's like anybody else at their job. The most important thing, it's not even making sure you're on time, you're pleasant to work with, and that your profits exceed your expenditures. The most important thing is that you have a job to come back to tomorrow. And I just share with you, it's one spot where, yeah, man, it's a massive miss. That is where the sport and the entertainment, people have got to understand that those two come together. And a manager should have had something planted, by the way.
You know what's crazy, Chael? I was thinking about call-outs in my career, and there have been some that have been amazing, and there have been some that have not been as good. My question to you is, what do you think was your best? I know what your best one was of all time. It was one of the great. Hey, it was one of the greatest call-outs of all time. But what about your worst? So I thought, when everybody goes, everybody fell in love with Georges St. Pierre when he said, I'm not impressed with your performance. And he had bad English. And it was like awesome to people. But to me, I was like, oh my God, this guy sounds like a dingbat. I didn't love it. I was like, this sounds weird. But again, the broken English made it work. Khabib, when he goes, give me your chicken, right? Give me your chicken when Connor's in the main event and Khabib is fighting on the prelims. Like you said, though, Chael, it starts to become a reality when a guy calling you up and he's undefeated, he's got some momentum. What was your best? What was your worst? To me, your best when you said, Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck. I was in Houston. Dude, you dirtied out my boy Brian Stann, too. Because it's like you kicked him off to the curb, like, I'm done with you. You were used to prop me up. Now I have my moment. It was awesome. But what was your worst? What do you think your worst one was?
I appreciate that very much, by the way. And I could tell you your best. It's because I'm a wrestling mark. But when you said, man, I am that kid in the bracket,
Yes.
I knew what it meant. But most importantly, John Jones knew what it meant. People do miss that on John. John ties himself as a wrestler. He's very proud of his wrestling career, and he should be. He won state championships. He won national championships. He was looked at by Cael Sanderson to go to the next level. I'm just telling you, that one resonated with John. He knew who that kid in the bracket was. He knew exactly what you were saying, and he wanted to protect it. John Jones stepped forward to protect his house. I got to give him that. My worst call out. I was going after Tito back in the day, and as my way to getting to Tito, I put a plan together that it was going to go through Frank Shamrock, and I had signs made. And I had a fight, and it was something called Sport Fight. It had a little television presence, and I had sign mates where we would march around just like it was a campaign for office with the signs. And the folks that made me the signs misspelled Frank Shamrock. So, yeah, and then I was just a doofus, and I'm forced with that. I had seen those signs ahead of time. Like, I saw them that night in the locker room, but now it's still a choice of, do we do this or do we not? I elected to do it, and frankly, when the name is misspelled, I should have just left those signs in the back.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So when I said that thing about the wrestling tournament, right, it was crazy because even though we didn't anticipate they knew, people popped, and they probably popped for the name, right? They popped for John Jones, seeing a young guy that was so good, calling out the guy that they recognized for being so good. But yes, all the wrestling people were like, oh my goodness, DC, that was awesome. But all my best call-outs were calling out John Jones. When I won the belt and I said, get your stuff together, I'm waiting. People love that. One time I told him, I said, hey, I told John, when we were arguing, Chael, I said, when John Jones it's like we're in school. When John gets his academics in order and he's back eligible to compete, then he can come back and him and I can fight. Because he was ineligible because he had got suspended. It was awesome. My worst one, though, was in the beginning, Chael, guess what I used to say? Guess what I used to say? You wouldn't believe what I used to say, because I wanted to be Captain America. I wanted to be the good guy. I wanted to be nice. I would get up there at Strike Force, Chael. You wouldn't believe I would say the dreaded words. The dreaded words. You know, I love Strike Force. Scott Coker's a great guy. And whatever he decides to do, I'm okay with it. I would get up there, Chael. Somebody slap me. I can't even watch those old fights because I stand up there, Chael, and I'm proud, man. I just got it done. I'm Olympian. Whatever they say, I'll be good with it.
Yep.
I'm just here to compete.
Nope. Shake hands and walk away. No, I remember when you were that guy. Henry Cejudo used to be that guy too, right? I'm going to shake hands and walk away. And it's like, no, man, we need more than that. I got to tell you, Daniel, when I talk about, a good call out or not, it's not just people's opinion. What you do, if we're talking about it, it's a big deal. If you get a reaction from the guy, it's a big deal. And it doesn't matter if the guy accepts it or rejects it. If he responds, you got him to some degree.
Yes.
And I had the hardest time getting guys to respond. I knew where I stood in the sport. I knew where I stood just because of the practice room I was in. We had world champions, and I could not get an opportunity. And when I started to associate myself with some of the top guys, when I started calling out some of the top guys, I couldn't get anywhere. They didn't know what a Chael was, and neither did anybody else. Nobody wanted to hear the call out, but nobody believed it either way. And Daniel, I had my most success when I would tell a lie. When I became the bad guy, one thing bad guys do is bad guys lie. So instead of taking a mic and calling out Anderson Silva, I started to take a mic and said, man, I don't know what the problem is with Anderson Silva. Everywhere I go, he's saying my name. I don't even have any problems with this guy. I don't even know that I want to fight him, but it's making me feel like sooner or later I'm going to have to if he keeps this up. It was what he had to respond instantly.
Yes.
The same thing when I was picking a fight with John Jones, man. When I finally went the other way, I said that I ran into John on Halloween, that I took his candy from him like he was a little kid. I pushed him down. He lost his mind. That simple line is what ended up getting the fight. And he was so mad. That's not true. I didn't even go out for Halloween this year. I can't believe it. It was one of those things. And I got that from Scott Hall. They used to do house shows. Scott Hall gets pinned 1, 2, 3 by Kevin Nash, or rather with Kevin Nash. It was a tag team in Minnesota. They drive up the interstate. They're in Jackson Hole. He takes the microphone and tells the crowd, I just pinned this guy 2 nights ago in Minnesota, when he's the one that lost, but it wasn't on television. So they go to Scott. They go, what are you doing? I beat you. What are you doing saying you won? And Scott Hall said, I'm a heel. Heels lie. And but I took a lesson from that. I took it, awesome. And I got to tell you, in life, you don't want to be known as a liar. But I will tell you, in sports and in the world of entertainment, Daniel, I would always get a reaction, and it could be something small. If the record wasn't correct, those guys would speak up. So would their managers and trainers. They just had to have the story told the right way.
They can't help themselves. It's such a lot. Like something so simple. Like I took his Halloween candy. He's explaining that it didn't happen. But by you explaining it, it literally makes it more real than it wasn't even in the first place. So yes, you got to get them to respond to you. But I tell you, man, when you did it, I was like, I cannot believe that's Chael. Bro, I was like, I cannot believe that is Chael. I was like, oh my God, he got it. Like you got it. And we were all just locked into everything you were doing because it was working. I just don't know if some of these guys have the ability to pull off some of the things that some of the others did. Nobody's going to be Conor McGregor. Nobody's going to be you. But you can still do it in your way and try to make it resonate. Right now, we can't have people not even taking their chance. Because I'd rather you be cringe like Henry Cejudo. I'd rather you be weird like Henry or somebody else, but people are talking about that weird call-out. Because then they're talking about the call-out. Sure. Regardless of if it's weird, if it's good, they're talking about the call-out, and the call-out has to matter.
Hey, Daniel, by the way, I have never asked you this, and this is the topic. Like, this is going to stress air out that I even go this direction. So I'll just bring it up and set it down. But I got to hear from you real fast because you mentioned Stipe earlier, and you mentioned John Jones. You've been in the ring with both of them multiple times. By the way, can Stipe beat him? And I don't even know if you're picking him. I'm saying, can he beat him? Does he have the skills to go out and deal with John Jones? Stop the takedown, stay on his feet, land some big shots. Can he beat him?
It's been a long time, man. And I got to tell you, Chael, I just know the difference between 38, 39, and 41. Stipe will be 42 by the time they fight. That's going to be an uphill battle. But in terms of skill for skill, he can defend takedowns. He's long. He's big. One thing that one area that I don't know that John has dealt with that he's really good in is when he does get to the clinch. He's much better in the clinch than people give him credit for. I remember the 5th round of our last fight. It was close, man. It was 2 rounds apiece, and he grabbed me, Chael, and he held me against the fence. I couldn't even get away from him. It was one of the weirdest things that I've ever felt, and that's when I kind of knew. I was like, man, I think my time is done because nobody has ever controlled me against the octagon side like this. This dude just did this for 4 minutes and 50 seconds. Chael, I'm a Greco-Roman world medalist. How am I getting controlled against the side of the octagon by a guy that wrestled at Cleveland State?
I remember it. I thought it was fatigue. I remember that exact moment. I remember where you guys were. I thought you were fatigued until you just said this right now. Maybe he was controlling zone. Maybe he had your wrist. I'll have to go back and look at that. Yep. I didn't understand it was a technique issue. I thought that you had done the math in your head and thought you did enough to win. Now you've got me interested. But by the way, Stipe's put on 20 pounds for this match. He thought on his last fight that he was going to go into an actual trilogy, one apiece against Ngannou. Stipe thought he was too small. Yep. So he did the same thing that John did, which is take some time off and go and bulk up. Nobody's talking about that. This is a 256-pound Stipe. We have not seen 256-pound Stipe ever. And I don't know if that's helpful, good thing, bad thing when you gain weight later in life. You know, it's not always wonderful, but 20 extra pounds of steel on Stipe, who was already tough, I'm interested.
I'm very, very interested. You know who else is interested, Chael? Coach Dean Thomas, who joins Good Guy, Bad Guy. Guys, let's welcome in the coach. Hey, Dean. So Chael and I wanted to bring you on. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Israel Adesanya. I know he fought a couple weeks ago, but you have seen this man go to the highest of heights in the sport. What does Izzy do now? What do you make of Izzy's last performance? What do you do now if you're Team Adesanya?
I was very critical of his last performance, and I was hard on him, and a lot of people got mad at me and thought I was being unfair, but I'm not being unfair because Izzy is one of the greatest to ever do it, and his standard is higher. We have to hold him to a higher standard. And what we saw from him against Dricus Du Plessis was not the Izzy that I was expecting to see, and that's not the Izzy that I was hoping to see. I thought he looked terrible in terms of Izzy standards. He didn't counterpunch. His wrestling, I don't know if it got worse, but it wasn't very good. And again, we're talking about one of the greatest to ever do it, one of the greatest middleweights of all time. And that's not the way you look when you're one of the greatest middleweights of all time. I thought he needed to look better. But if I'm Izzy, it's time to go back to the drawing board and figure out what he wants. It didn't even look like he was all that inspired to fight. When the tap came, it looked like he wanted to give up. It looked like he wanted to get out of there. And that to me is a sign that maybe you're not hungry. This ain't the same guy who uttered the words in between rounds 4 and 5 against Kelvin Gastelum, I'm ready to die here. This is a guy who was like, I'm about to get my paycheck and see what's up.
How did I miss this? How did I miss this take, Dean? Chael, did you know this take was out there that Dean felt this way?
No, that's pretty hot, and I do appreciate that. I really respect Dean from a coaching standpoint where he can be very analytical and look at it, and that involves being critical at times. There was even a rumor that came out. Alex Pereira started it. It appears that Adesanya backed it up over the weekend that just said Izzy was hurt going into that fight. I don't know that he was or not, and I don't really like that revisionist history. I'm just sharing for you. I did see what Coach Dean saw, which is that was not the same Izzy if we're holding him to a standard. I think it's fair. He's critical, but it sounds fair.
Dean, but
I mean, the reality is this: like we have a hard time being critical of fighters because we understand what fighters go through. But to me, it's like if a quarterback has a bad game, we call that out. Listen, and the numbers will suggest it. But Izzy had a bad fight. He lost a fight. That suggested he had a bad fight, in my opinion. I mean, I don't care what you say.
Dean, I can't be. Look, I'm not being devil's advocate. You say he had a bad fight, right? And I get it. And then you and I agree on most things. But Dean, we are talking about a fight that in the round 4, it was 2-1 Dricus. Izzy was winning round 4. How in the world could you be that strong in your opinion that the fight was that bad? Dino, I don't get it. I don't get how you saw. What we saw, he was winning the 4th round and got taken down and submitted. It wasn't a bad fight, Dean. How was it such a bad fight?
To me, when you look at Dricus, like the narrative on Dricus is he does everything wrong. That's the narrative. He gets away with doing everything wrong. When you're fighting a technician and a sharpshooter like Izzy, you are supposed to take advantage of guys who do that.
It's in the matchup. So you're thinking it's in the matchup. Like in that matchup, you think Izzy should shine.
I thought Izzy should have shined. I went on TV and embarrassed myself. I said, camera, give me that single. I said, give me the single. Izzy is gonna knock him out within 2 rounds. Just stylistically. It's like taking a tough guy against a really good slick boxer. Like stylistically, a sharpshooter is supposed to take advantage of a guy like Dricus. And Izzy didn't do that. And to me, it was because of, I don't know if he was hurt, a lack of preparation. He just don't have no more. But he was irresponsible defensively, which caused him to not be able to counterpunch effectively. His wrestling defense looked as bad, or if not worse than it's ever has. And his defense on the ground was treacherous. And I'm not saying this because I hate Izzy. I'm just saying at that level, what I expect from one of the greatest of all times is better. I expect better from him.
Dean, what do you think Izzy does now? If you had to give a prediction, does he come back? Does he fight again? Is he still a top guy? Does he change the weight class? Like if you had to look at that and assess what he did, don't forget he took a break. So part of what I think you're going to respond is don't take such a big break, but I don't want to speak for you. What would you say he does now?
And it's tough because when you are at the top of the top, it's hard to get good matchups that you want. And I was a part of Tyron Woodley's camp, and I saw how it goes. When you were once at the top of the top, they never allow you to really set your feet and get good matchups that you want. You always face the next best guy, which could be very difficult for Izzy. And if his heart isn't fully in it, it's going to be tough for him to come back and fight the next best guy, because he's going to be fighting guys like that are hungry and young, that have never tasted gold before, like Brandon Allen, who's going to go out there. Yeah, and Caio Borralho. These guys are going to go out there and look at Izzy like fresh meat. And if he don't have the same heart, if he don't have a little bit of what he had before, if he had too much success and was so used to sleeping on silk sheets, he's going to have a hard time fighting them guys. So for him, either he gives it up or he has to find that hunger in him that got him there in the first place.
Yeah, that's a very tough spot to be in right now, and the former champion has a lot of questions that he's got to answer. Speaking of hungry, motivated guys, Dean, Merab Dvalishvili is fighting for the Bantamweight Championship of the world. Last week, Merab posted a cut. My question to you as a coach, how do you balance, Dean, your athletes' ability to prepare while by making sure the damage or the potential for damage is minimal? How do you make sure that your guy's ready without getting him hurt? And was it a big deal that cut got out to social media? Like, what are the rules there from a coaching perspective?
I don't think it's a big deal. It is irresponsible, and it sets a bad precedent that we got a guy like that who's fighting for a world title putting his cut out like that. You shouldn't do it. His cut was probably small and minimal. He shouldn't have did it, but Merab is, he's out there. I mean, this guy is such a great guy, but, he's got his issues, man. Every time I turn around, he's in another street altercation. He's got his issues for sure. But as a coach, it is your job to create an environment where your fighter can get better and not hurt. A lot of coaches can't do that successfully if they got a big team and they're worried about so many other guys. And that might be the issue with Merab, is that he's a part of a big team, and sometimes the coach's back is turned to somebody else and can't really monitor the tempo in which his fighters are going, or, have better risk management. But it is your job as a coach to create the environment and make sure the fighter gets what they need without getting them hurt. It's like a race car. You can't just drive your race car to the ground and expect to show up sharp. You have to be sharp. And when you're making that type of money, you need to be able to invest in yourself so that you're getting what you need without getting hurt. Now, I get it. Some fighters that don't make a lot of money, listen, throw them in the room. Get in the room. If you get hurt, you get hurt. But when you're fighting for a world title, the potential for you to be a millionaire after this, multi-million-dollar fighter after this, you have to have better risk management and take control and take care of yourself.
Yesterday or 2 days ago, Sean O'Malley was speaking to Brett Okamoto about the fight with Merab. He said that he feels he's knocking him out early in the fight, Dino. When you break this down, though, it seems like it's one of those style matchups, right? That if Merab Dvalishvili can drag this fight long, he might have the potential to beat Sugar Sean O'Malley. But O'Malley, who's always confident, feels like he will not be able to sustain the damage that he's going to take early. When breaking this one down, how do you look at that between Merab and Sean, which will be one of the biggest fights of the year, headlining the Sphere pay-per-view in Las Vegas next month?
Now, I know how this looks on paper. And if you were to ask the great R.J. Clifford, he thinks that Merab is the worst possible matchup for a guy like Sean O'Malley. And I think vice versa as well. If you think about Aljamain Sterling is extremely calculated in his approach. And he got knocked out approaching Sean O'Malley the wrong way. And he's longer than Merab. Merab comes in recklessly, sometimes with a disregard to his own safety. If he doesn't approach this fight properly and learn from the mistake of Aljamain Sterling and doesn't set that takedown up a little bit better, Sean O'Malley's right. He's going to knock him out early. But if Merab can get his hands on him, it could be a long night.
How much does it benefit Merab to having Aljamain, who fought and prepared for O'Malley?
In my opinion, it benefits him a lot. But that's up to Merab to respect that fight. Because we know how fighters are. Fighters are, I asked Aljamain afterwards, because I consult with him a lot, and I asked him afterwards what he thought of it and what people were saying to him, and they were just like, you just got caught. Like, you didn't just get caught. You got set up and sniped. You got set up. It wasn't just like he closed his eyes and just caught you. He waited for you to make that mistake and sniped you. And if you don't respect Sean's ability to snipe you and wait for you to make a mistake and catch you, you're going to make a mistake and get caught and get sniped. So if I'm Merab, he has to be able to respect what happened to Aljamain and say, all right, I got to do a better job than Aljamain in getting closer to Sean O'Malley so I can get my hands on him and be able to take advantage.
Dean, if you're dealing with a pressure fighter like Merab that's going to throw more things at you, come forward, have more attacks, doesn't get frustrated when they don't work, what are some of the general rules? Like, what are some of the basic rules for slowing a guy like that down?
Damage. Damage is always the key factor. Threats and damage. You know, I've always said the best takedown defense is really from wanting to take you down is the best way to keep guys from taking you down. If Sean O'Malley can threaten Merab with knees up the middle, punches, straight punches down the center, a good choke every so often, Merab's going to be hesitant about shooting. So he's got to be able to threaten him with submissions on the way in and do damage on the way in and make Merab think twice about taking a shot.
Dean, I remember you and I walking out to the Hard Rock Casino. Is it still called the Hard Rock? I think it's called the Virgin now. When Merab Dvalishvili fought Piotr Jan. And Piotr Jan and Sean O'Malley went tooth and nail. And he shot 55 times. I don't know what you can do to make him not shoot. He took 55 takedown attempts in a 25-minute fight. He's an absolute psycho. Dean, being in South Florida, you know, they say you're in I say you're in South Florida. Dean also, hey, guys, Dean Thomas owns coffee companies, and it is phenomenal coffee, Dean. I had some the last time I was down south. Chael, amazing vibe, unbelievable product. Dean Thomas, the coffee maker, the barista. Dean, I love Chael. I went in there and I walked and I go, I would like Dean Thomas to make my coffee. They say, well, man, you asked the big boss to be standing behind the table. They say, you get a coffee, but we ain't getting Dean to make it. Chael.
And I put some instant coffee in, threw it in the microwave, and handed it to DC.
Hey, that's beautiful. I actually didn't know that. I didn't know that Dean was in the coffee business, but I love it. I respect it, and I would get myself a bag.
Dude, you got to get yourself a cup of coffee from Coach.
Yeah, man. I got a cafe in South Florida called the Modern Rose Hollywood. It's in Hollywood, Florida. Make sure y'all come check it out. I'll be there. I'm there almost every day.
That's my boy, Dean Thomas, the Modern Rose. Hey, Dean, last thing before we let you go, bro. It's great talking to you. It's awesome having you on the show. Amanda Nunes, right? Chael and I were talking about call-outs earlier. Amanda Nunes, when she was at the top of the world as a two-division champion, was getting called out constantly. Then she walks away. She says, I'm done with this. I am the champ. I'm over it. I'm done. But then Kayla Harrison gets to the UFC, a former teammate of hers, and then we see a video after after Kayla beats Holly Holm. Amanda's in front of a TV making it seem like she wants to fight again. Is Amanda Nunes going to come back, and is Kayla Harrison becoming champion the only way that we see the Lioness back inside the octagon?
I think that if Kayla Harrison becomes champion, there's a 90% chance Amanda Nunes comes back. If Juliana Pena becomes champion, I think there's a 50% chance we see Amanda Nunes come back. I talk to Amanda quite often, and she's always talking about coming back to train. I say, have you been training? She says, slowly but surely, but just training for fun. That's what she says. I'm just training for fun. But we know what that means in fight terms. That means I'm training for fun, but if the right person gives me an opportunity, I'm taking it. And I do feel like Kayla Harrison will become the champion of the UFC, which I do believe that Amanda will come back for that fight. DC, I got something for you, man, because I put a post out because I'm tired of these little young boys trying you. I'm tired of it, man. I'm tired of these little young boys forgetting about who the boss is. And Joaquin Buckley is the latest one. And I'm like, yo, what's going on with Joaquin Buckley? Joaquin is my boy, but he's a little out of pocket right now. What's going on with Joaquin Buckley?
Man, I don't know, man. All these dudes bugging out, man. These dudes they all try to come for the king. Hey, D, let me tell you what the problem is. You know, very few people sit in a sport in the place that I sit with the championships and now the TV jobs and the all these opportunities I get. I don't know that they respect what I did anymore. But hey, it ain't hard to find, Dean. Dean, it ain't hard to find on. It ain't hard to find on video. And Dean, guess what else? I'm not hard to find, Dean. Every pay-per-view, I'm there. Bring your sparring gloves. Bring your stuff, and then we good.
I don't think people understand how hard it is to do what either of you guys done. And that is be at the top of the MMA game from that perspective, then be able to transition to this side and still be at the top and still get these opportunities. People are out of their mind to be trying you guys like this because it is so difficult to be this relevant in MMA, and you guys have done it from every angle of the sport. So I give you guys props. I take my hat off to y'all, and I always, nothing but love and respect. You guys are role models.
My boy, Dean, you know, Dean. Buckley went after me, Chael, and Bisping. He went after all of us. He went after all of us in one single Instagram post. And I was I'm the only ghetto one to go and respond to him in the most ghetto way that I could find on Twitter, man. I don't know what happened. Dean, I don't know what happened. I went back to Lafayette, Louisiana. I was ashamed of myself. But, Dean, I don't know if I can mess with this $1 million face, Dean. Dean, look at that. Look at that $1 million face.
And listen, I think it might take a little bit more because we know Chael is the real gangster here, but he got a little domesticated. He got his hair combed to the side and everything. But I still feel like underneath all that, he's still a gangster.
Yeah, he's still a gangster, man. Hey, Dean, thank you for joining Chael and I, man. We appreciate it. Guys, that's our latest episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy for Dean Thomas, Chael Sonnen.
Well, Daniel, if I may, I thought we were going to say goodbye to Dean and then we would come back. I just got to clear something up. So there used to be a hotel known as the Hard Rock. It's now Virgin. That's a company owned by Richard Branson. I think you referred to it as the Virgin, which while being very virtuous is something very different. Virgin, just Virgin.
I said the Virgin Hotel, Chael.
Yes.
Dean, you see? Dean, this is what I got to deal with every time. Either he's talking about Heather, the girl that broke up with him in 5th grade, or he's trying to accuse me of saying the Virgin. He's out of his mind, but that's what makes the show good. Guys, get us wherever you get your podcast, ESPN MMA YouTube, ESPN2. Until next time, for the bad guy, I'm the good guy. Dean, they call me the good guy. They just don't know me. Until next time, peace.